And as long as you really are working on whatever that thing is, your brain's like, that's the thing we're doing now.
Right.
And you can completely transform the next 7 weeks.
Welcome to the Fusionary Health Podcast. I have a special guest in store for you today. We're going to be talking about all things holistic health and healthy home. And I have a special guru of holistic health who's a self-taught, self-styled person who really brings us wisdom that we may not be getting from anywhere else. And I've loved connecting with him about health. So welcome to the podcast, Daniel.
Thank you. He sounds awesome from that description. I feel like I've got a lot to live up to.
Whenever I read my bio, I'm like, wow, who is that girl?
Yeah, she's great.
Oh, that is
Thank
me.
you for
Wow.
having me.
It's always fun, right? So Daniel, will you share with us your journey of how you got to where you are now and teaching what you teach?
Okay. Yes. Simple story of most of my adult life, wanted to be healthier, followed mainstream advice. So distance running, low fat, loading on carbs, all the stuff you're supposed to do, and could run a really long way. And I felt like crap and I looked like crap. And I had a number of health incidences, and some of them were really serious. One was nearly died kind of health incidents, which doesn't half wake you up to thinking, wait, why is this happening if I'm doing all the things I'm supposed to do?
Yeah.
And then fell into, it was nutrition that came first, fell into keto as a thing. It doesn't even matter how, but I start self-experimenting and I'm like, wait a minute, I'm getting much leaner and healthier and sleeping better and my muscles are growing and I'm recovering. And I started researching, why is this way that I'm eating, which is the exact opposite of what I'm told is good for me, making me healthier?
Sure.
And it made me go dig even deeper into where did all the guidance come from that meat might be bad for you or saturated fat can kill you and cholesterol's bad and so on. And I went down that rabbit hole and did a lot of my own independent research to, I don't want to say discover, other people discovered it before me, but found my discovery of how kind of corrupt and perverse and conspiracy theory sounding the history of where that health guidance came from.
Sure.
So we could get into it if we wanted to, but it's a story for another day unless you want to come back to it. But it's really easy to see that the basic foundation of cholesterol and heart health and low fat versus saturated fat and everything else was based on a whole bunch of lies. And it's really publicly documented and it's very easy to see.
For sure.
It's like, wait a minute, it might not end there. Maybe this keeps going. Yeah. So as I kept looking at different parts of health to do with movement and exercise and the sun, which may or may not actually be the burning evil fireball out to get us.
Totally.
And I just kept researching, finding, where that idea first came from seems to be false, seems to be money involved, seems to have no good science behind it. And then I would self-test and then I would start to guide other people and me and everyone around me is getting healthier and healthier. And that was really the beginning of the journey for the last decade or so. And that went eventually transformed over to the emotional health side, which I guess maybe something we'll come back to. But it sort of gave me this really wide knowledge. So that was the beginning.
Absolutely. And we were scheduled a couple weeks ago for a pre-interview call. I like to talk to all my guests in advance so we can understand where we're going to go with this episode. And I remember my internet didn't want to work. There were all sorts of issues. And I remember you said, don't worry about it. I'm just going to go in the sun and bask in the sun and enjoy 10 minutes to myself. And I thought, what if we all had that attitude? What if instead of when we get 10 minutes, 20 minutes freed up on the calendar, instead of jumping straight to social media, we instead said, oh my gosh, it's a self-care moment. Let me go really charge up myself. And you also asked me a really powerful question. You said, what's going on right now when we did finally connect by phone? And I said, well, I'm having this year of mold. There's mold in the house. I've got to remediate it. It's a project. It's super distracting because I'm in charge of this thing called home. And you said, well, tell me a little about yourself. So we just started talking and I said, I'm obsessed with health. And that's why the mold project is a problem. And it's so funny because you did an exercise with me on the words we use and what they mean for our health. And now every time I say that, because I said the same thing twice today on 2 other podcasts, I was like, oh, you're still saying it that way. Isn't that interesting? You haven't switched it over. And you talked to Daniel about this. So will you speak into this idea that many people are probably not conscious or aware of, which is the own words we use and the things we are saying to ourselves, have this impact on our entire energy field and on ourselves, and maybe the very reason we are held back from our goals, our health goals, whatever it is we're pursuing.
Oof, that's big. I love the fact that self-awareness is obviously coming for you because you're catching the words, which I think is okay, you're on the journey. So will come. Keep developing. Okay, everything I say from this point forward, it's all my belief, which is actually how I think science should be. I think science is currently stuck in this thing of there's a study, so it's proven, so that's a fact. And actually, but there was a study that said something different previously, and there's another study that counters it. It should all be our opinion. So I like to say everything is my well-researched, self-tested opinion. My opinion is the way the brain works is really, really interesting. So your conscious, the thoughts you're aware of, your unconscious is the maybe 95% or whatever the number is that's actually going on in the background that you're not aware of. It's unconscious. And your unconscious can't discern the difference between an instruction or a belief that serves you well. Well, it doesn't serve you well. Its only job is to do exactly what you tell it. So when I was first taught this, my friend that taught it to me gave me the example of his uncle. He was the I always lose my glasses guy. So his brain doesn't go, oh, Bob, that's a ridiculous idea. If you think that, that's going to cause you a problem. It just goes, okay, Bob, let's make sure you always lose your glasses. Because our brains believe that our beliefs not coming true is going to create a massive imbalance, which is more dangerous than anything. So its only job is to help you find what you know, in quotation marks, to be true. So of course, he forever lost his glasses. To the extent that one day he's searching his home for 2 hours until his wife looks at him and says, they're on your face. That's how hard he believed it. Mm-hmm. So everything we tell ourselves, our unconscious goes, okay, let me try and make that true. Now, the challenge we have is that we actually don't know most of the things that are already programmed in there because they happen the day you were born, or when you were 1 or 3 or 7 or 10 or yesterday. And because it's unconscious, it's in there. But we influence it all the time by our conscious thoughts. So if I believe I'm currently overweight, I can have all the desire in the world to want to be slimmer or healthier or whatever the right words are for that person. But if deep down when I look in the mirror or look down at myself, I'm thinking I'm fat, for want of a better term, that's what the person's thinking. The unconscious goes, oh, okay, you're fat. Right, that's what you believe. I'm going to make it very, very hard for you to be motivated to eat the fillet steak and not the Doritos. I'm going to make sure that things happen that keep you sat on your ass and keep you in the thing that you believe. So it was funny when you mentioned the obsession thing, I was like, oh, it used to be me. So my journey, as I said, was on the physical health side and eventually crossed to the emotional health side. And I had a few incidences, as I said. I nearly died for a second time about 4 years ago for a completely different reason. And it had me questioning, wait a minute, I'm doing all the right things, so to speak. Yes, I can always optimize further and I can learn even more, but basically, I'm probably in the top 1% of the things I do for my physical health. And you'd think so by seeing me kind of day to day, yet I keep having major problems and I nearly died. I'm missing something. And I used to wear this badge of honor of I'm obsessed by health. Like, isn't that a wonderful thing? I was also obsessed by personal growth. I read 65 books this year, that kind of story. And I had this thought that obsession, I think, is a clever word for addiction. I think it's the same thing. Very, very, very similar. Now, it's not the more obvious mainstream addictions of alcohol or drugs or sex, whatever it might be. But it's still masking something and it's still trying to replace something or cover something up. And I thought the problem with health obsession is it's kind of another word for perfection. And because perfect's impossible, I will always fail. And that's going to cause me a problem. What do I want to believe? Do I want to like, oh, I don't give a shit about health? No, that's not true. That's not what I want. Right. So I'll be passionate about health. And I really pondered it. I was playing with the word. Is there a downside to passion? I don't think there is. I'm going to work on being passionate about health. And for 6 months, I had a mantra pop up on my phone in my reminders app. On a regular basis, I'm passionate about health, passionate about health. And what it enabled me to do was to keep wanting to become ever healthier, because that's what passion would be.
Sure.
But passion allows the moments, allows one to be relaxed, allows one to be, I didn't do a thing today that's my usual routine, and that's okay too. Am I still passionate about health? Yes. Did I skip my meditation this morning because that's what suited me? Yes, that was all right too. And of course, perversely, I became ever healthier by not obsessing about health. The same thing happened with personal development. I actually didn't read a novel for about 3 years because I had this thought deep down that if I'm reading a novel, I'm now reading one less personal development book and my brain won't be growing. I was like, hang on a minute, Daniel, you know way better than that. And if it was somebody else, I could have seen that so quickly and easily. But I had to wake up to the idea that being passionate about personal development is probably really healthy. But what a difference that can make. So if we can think about how we program our unconscious, it matters all the time. Somebody said to me the other day, it was something like, I really struggle with. Okay, great. You're going to keep making that true because you stated it as now you really struggle with. Right. What if you just threw on, I have really struggled with. I struggle with this up until now. Even that would be an improvement. I've not been able to do that yet. Oh, suddenly, yet doesn't now program what has to happen in the next minute or tomorrow. And we started a great conversation on changing the language around language that will actually support a change you want to make in your life. And it applies to anything.
It's so interesting because there's so many things that we might start saying once and it's almost catchy to us. And so we just start saying it again because it's a succinct way to say whatever it is we're thinking about. So I have been saying 2025 is the year of mold. Guess what? It will be. It will be until the end. Might take the whole damn year. Yep. And that's silly because I really want to be done in this moment. I want today to be the last day.
Until now, 2025 has been a lot about mold.
Yeah.
That's okay. That's true. You can't lie to your unconscious. That's true. Up until now, it has been. Right. And there's still 7 more weeks left in the year, and it's up to me what the rest of that year brings. Oh, that could be true too. And then you can keep going. Well, what I want the rest of this year to bring is. So the thing I'm working on right now, that's an important bit of language that I like people to use. The thing I'm working on right now is, and as long as you really are working on whatever that thing is, your brain's like, that's the thing we're doing now.
Right.
And you can completely transform the next 7 weeks.
And it's interesting. It's always so easy to catch in other people. Like I have a coworker who works in my company and she will always say, I'm just so stupid. I always do that. That's stupid. And I always, it alarms me because I'm like, you're not stupid. You're actually brilliant and you're incredible. How can you say that? So I'm like, no. And I'll try to rephrase it, but she's done it so many times now that I'm like, that's like the thing she says.
So if I could go there for a second, hypothesizing, I don't need to know her, but just the sense of it. So there's 2 different elements for me. One is, okay, let me try and educate you, teach you in the ways of the wording. Let's talk about this. So let's just talk about it in the right now. Yeah. Let's imagine how those words impact on you. If you tell yourself, as with the story that I just shared a few minutes ago, if you tell yourself over and over that you are stupid, your unconscious goes, okay, that's what she believes. I'll do all I can to make it come true. So you get to say, see, that was true, which at least keeps you in balance. It's not good balance, but it keeps you in balance and therefore it's true. So we could talk about that. Let's change the language. And you can even say to somebody, what are the facts that confirm 100% that that is true without any doubt? Give me something that proves you are stupid, 100%. And of course, there's never an answer. No one's got anything that proves that 100% they are stupid. Yeah. So how might this sound? What if it wasn't true? Maybe is there evidence, therefore, that this isn't true? Let's consider that. So that can be a way of playing that game. And let's start talking about what the right language could be. The other side of it is, of course, going deeper, which we don't always have to do. It's not that everything requires therapy. I am a huge fan of therapy done right, which my opinion of right we can come back to. It could be worth saying, where did that belief first come from? Because that's what we're really doing in therapy. And I've just always thought that way. Okay, you haven't. So just so you know, my opinion of the facts are you were born thinking that. You were born thinking, oh my God, it's cold and I'm hungry and I hope someone takes care of me and I don't like loud noises. That's about it. You're not born with anything else.
Sure.
So every other belief you have is learned. So somewhere on day 1 or year 3 or year 10 or something, someone said something or did something which you locked in at that point to tell you are stupid. What was that thing? And it's amazing. 9 times out of 10, somebody just knows immediately. Actually, it was when I was in school and it was this teacher and this kid made fun of me and yada, yada. Okay, let's talk about that and how that has been influencing your life for the last 32 years. What should have happened? What could have happened? What's actually true? And you can have that conversation with somebody. And sometimes do what seems to take a year of therapy in one 20, 30-minute conversation, or do that for yourself.
Do you believe that these thoughts also happen into our teen years, or truly is when we're young?
I think it's a graph that starts with a line that starts high. You're more influenced at an early age, but I don't think it ever goes down to zero. So whatever that downward is, maybe it's less and less relevant as the years go on, but It's not irrelevant. So something can happen to me today that could influence the next, well, please God, 70 years of my life, because I want to live to 124. And that's possible. It's less common. It's more likely that there's a layering on of a thing that was already there from younger. And that's why, people joke about, well, it's all your parents' fault. It's not your parents' fault. But of course, your parents are your number one influence in your most formative years. So many of these things will come from that period of time, as many of mine were.
As you were speaking, I thought to myself, and I invite the audience who's listening today to think about this, but thoughts came through all of a sudden, like, wow, when you were in 4th grade, that boy called you ugly. And how has that thought reverberated? Or, as women, a lot of times we chastise ourselves about our weight. And it's like, when did those seeds get planted, and when will we release them so that inner monologue around the conversation can be released?
I'm going to share a story, and I'm warning you, I may or may not cry. So at the point of recording this, my dad passed away 8 days ago, and I've been back to the UK to bury him, and I'm back again now in America. It's a lot, but I'm okay, and I can explain why I'm okay. But an interesting story arises. So I had an aha moment about 3 years ago. I was working on my stuff, what's affected me in previous life. And I had this thing pop into my mind. I was out for a walk and I was just doing a lot of thinking around what may have influenced my unconscious beliefs. And my dad was way taller than me and tanned and broad and kind of muscular, even though he didn't really work out. He just had that about him. When I was little, I just wanted to be like him. And he was the image of that's what a man is, big and strong and super warm and lovely. And from the age of about 13 or 14, so this shows it can be later, teen years, he was sick. Now I'm 49, so it took him about 36 years of having health problems to finally not be here. But I just had this thought, that's interesting. The image of what a strong man is was, in my mind, that man for most of my life has been sick his whole life with ME and chronic fatigue syndrome and multiple cancers and all sorts. And I thought, I wonder if that was confusing to my mind at any point. That was that. Scribble this down as a thought to come back to. Get back to the house, and we've got a gym in the garage, and I'm going to do my workout. And I go and start, and this particular exercise I was doing that day was this very, very heavy thing, where normally my absolute limit was 7 reps. And it's like, last rep of like groaning, oh my God, really pushing it. I just did it, and I just sat down to do this thing, and I did 12 reps. And I was like, whoa, what just happened then? Swap sides, did 12 again. I'm thinking, hang on. And I'm thinking about this conversation I've just had with myself around my dad and what the image of strength and health and so on is. So I'll go to pick up some other weights for another exercise, and my maximum was 40 pounds. I turned it to 45 adjustable dumbbells. I'm like, no, I turned it to 55, like a 40% increase in weight. And I did the same number of reps I would normally do. And I kind of burst out laughing in this realization that just the thought that the self-awareness that my image of a strong man was always ill and therefore weak, realizing that's where my image had come from, it vanished. And over the next 2 weeks, my total training volume, which is basically just the amount of weight lifted times the reps, put together within a period of time, doubled. I was twice as strong in 14 days because of that aha moment. And that just shows you how powerful our words and our beliefs are. But I was in my unconscious, and I had to be on a journey to kind of wake up to that.
It's so true. And God, are you stirring things up?
Sorry.
I need to call my therapist and be like, we need to have some conversations. There's a lot of deep-seated thoughts in there that need to be extracted out of me and taken away. Because
Yeah.
a lot of times we have these programmed thoughts and they kind of sift by. We don't always acknowledge them, but I have a really horrible health history. And then it's interesting if you build a brand on teaching based on your pain. So for example, why do I teach inflammation? I don't want anyone else to suffer with what I suffered with. That's my motivation. Like, don't have a family like mine. Don't lose your grandparents and then your parents and everyone to diabetes and inflammation. But underneath it, if you go way deeper, there is a belief that health is really hard. Having good health is hard. You have to work so hard for it. And even if you work for it, what if you still don't win? Like, that's a really horrible deep seed inside of me that's like, Shivani, people still die of cancer. You can't always prevent everything. And it's a horrible thought to have, but all day on podcasts, I'm saying, this is my history. And then somewhere deep inside my body goes, yeah, that's why health is hard. Even though what I'm teaching the world is how to make health easier. I'm teaching you guys.
We could play this game right here, right now.
Yeah, it's interesting.
What would be an even better message to give yourself than health is hard? That is something your unconscious will still believe. So if you believe that health is hard, but hard by default almost means you will fail and therefore it might misguide you. What could be more useful to you to think and to tell yourself?
I loved the word passion because health is my passion.
Mm-hmm.
So just health is my passion. Health is something I love. I love having good health.
Okay. I love having good health. Let me take your words then. So I'm always conscious that I make sure I illustrate it to somebody. These are now my words for your words. So you would really want to go away and I'd suggest come up with your own words for this. But the sentiment could be your mantra or whatever you need to repeat on a regular basis is something like, I'm passionate about health and I work hard at becoming, I am working hard right now at becoming ever healthier. So you're allowing yourself to keep the same word in of hard, but you're changing its meaning because I'm working hard at it. You're saying I'm working right now because the importance of the right now is if you just said I'm working at becoming, or I'm going to become healthier, well, tomorrow that could still be true. And in a year it could still be true. And in 10 years it could still be true because you might never do anything because eventually you'll work on being healthier. So telling yourself right now is really powerful. And that makes it really easy for somebody using that simplistic diet approach of, oh, well, that means I can't pick out the Doritos. Right. Because if I'm working hard right now on being ever healthier, but it's you're not lying to your unconscious in any way. So it can go, oh, cool. And you can even add on layers to it. I am constantly working on becoming ever more relaxed at being healthy or relaxedly healthy, or just playing with these terms and thinking, well, if I just think that way and program that into my mind over days and weeks and months by reading it over and over and over with something as simple as a reminder's app, what difference might that make? What will that guide me to? So maybe that's something to play with outside of her.
I'm going to make sure we publish this episode within the end of the year because as I talk to my friends, one message we have with each other right now is, oh my gosh, the year is ending so fast. Oh my gosh, the Q1, Q2 of the school year is ending. We're going to enter the second half of the school year. Christmas is here before you know it. All those messages. And it's like, actually, and when I had this discussion with a friend today, my issue with it was, I don't feel like I am where I want to be for the year to end. But what behaviors am I willing to change to be happy at New Year's? New Year's always triggers me because I want to feel phenomenal. And I know
Up until now. New Year's has always triggered you, but that's the thing. It has. So my question then is, what would have to happen for this new year to be something other than triggering? You pick the word, whatever that is. For it
vibrant.
To be... Oh, right. Okay. So what would have to happen for this new year to be vibrant?
I think I'm doing most of what I do to feel vibrant and healthy, but I know that if I did 10, 20% more, I'd feel my absolute rocking best. And that's how I like to feel. Hi, I'm Dr. Shivani Gupta, and I created Fusionary formulas because I believe everyone deserves a natural way to support their body's health. If you struggle with joint discomfort or stiffness, our turmeric gold delivers powerful curcumin in a form your body can truly absorb. It's science-backed with the highest quality ingredients and designed to support your body's natural inflammatory response. Take the next step in your health and wellness journey today. Visit fusionaryformulas.com and use code FusionaryHealth for 15% off. Fusionary Formulas, ancient wisdom, modern science, maximum impact. So all I have to do is do it. Work out and yoga more. That's it. It's that easy.
The key is writing something down now that you can go back to and think that through and think about what that looks like. That's, in my opinion, making sure you're being kind to yourself.
Yeah.
That the more actually does fit and work for you, and there isn't a downside to the more. Just check. And if that's accurate for you, then that's great.
I think it's so powerful to bring this awareness to our words because there's so many things we're saying in conversation and not recognizing what we're planting within ourselves and the power we have. So even earlier this year, even earlier today, when we were talking about the new year, I thought, well, you have complete power over how you feel at New Year's. You know how to build beautiful health. You teach it. You love it. Go for it. Do it. Adjust your schedule to be more about your self-care. If that's the way you want to feel on December 31st, you have complete power over this. So,
and can I throw in something? Maybe it's not about, at the moment we're filming this 7 weeks away, maybe it is just about right now, because I could argue that how we feel about anything is based on our beliefs about what we want. So I had a discovery a few months ago. I always come back from vacation even healthier. So leaner, stronger, feeling great, etc. Most people come back from vacation feeling like crap because they've eaten like crap and not worked out and everything else. Yeah. I'm trying to think it through in the least egotistical, moral, like I'm so awesome because that's what I do on holiday. I'm thinking that's not what's going on. What's actually going on? It's not like a conscious effort for me. And I thought, it's not actually about me. It's actually about how most people see, because most people see vacation of I can finally let loose. I deserve to relax. Sure. I deserve the black, whatever else. Well, those are all learned things. They're not factual. People think that they're factual. They think their beliefs are facts. But I told you the few we're born with. I need food, shelter, love, and don't make loud noises or drop me. And that's about it. We've learned the rest. So where did you learn that? Well, actually, it's how my parents always worked. Like, finally, I've been grinding for 6 months and now I get to go on a vacation.
Yeah.
How well does that belief serve them? How well is that belief serving you? What if you saw vacation in a different light and decided what it meant? But you could decide today, this is where I'm going with this, you can decide, actually, I'm already doing so many amazing things for my health. I'm actually already doing so many amazing things for this to be an amazing year already. What if it just is? What if it's only my perspective right now that says it isn't? What if nothing needs to change? Because maybe something does. I'm not saying it doesn't. Yeah. But it's just another possibility. I'm just going to keep being me and be peaceful and kind to myself, that it's not always about the next goal that has to be achieved. Maybe this is the time to go, great, just going to keep doing what I'm doing, but I'm going to be happy about it. I'm going to decide it's good enough. Maybe that's an option. So,
how often do we not think it's good enough, though? Most of us are ever seeking. If you're listening to this podcast, you're likely a health nut or someone who's very passionate about health. And
passionate, not obsessed.
Exactly. And thus put yourself on that track of thinking, oh my gosh, there's always more to do. But I agree with you. I mean, so much of what I am teaching from Ayurveda is be present in the here and now to the vibrancy you have. Goal is body, mind, and spirit in alignment, and we can have that in any second.
Simple, big picture stuff. Yeah, absolutely. May I go somewhere that's kind of connected? It feels very important. So I love the route we've gone down, and I must want to make a point. My specialist thing, and we say it negatively on purpose, is not the mindset stuff. My specialist thing is not being a specialist. So the thing that I do differently is there's a lot of people smarter than me or more knowledgeable than me in their specialist field. Yeah. What I might be the best at, and I've learned to say that out loud and feel okay saying it out loud. What I might be the best at is breadth of knowledge. So I know quite a lot about all of it. There's hardly anything anyone could ever bring up where I even have a thought of, I don't really know much about that. So that's the thing where I've been blessed to be able to develop that skill and technique. So across all of physical, emotional, spiritual health, I know quite a lot about all of it, but my superpower that I've developed is asking good questions and piecing it all together. So someone's talking about something over in the, let's say, nutritional camp, and we have a long enough conversation to realize it's not really about that. It's about what your mum said when you were 5. Or somebody's in the mindset issue thing and actually discover they're indoors all the time and all they actually need is some sunshine and some grounding. And it's piecing that together. That's my thing. What that has helped me do is develop a theory, which is I'm often told is contentious, even amongst, let's call it our world, of alternative health weirdos. And all the alternative health weirdos listening to this, because that's our nice badge that I think is a good one to hold. I think that there's, in almost all cases, so please allow me the 1%. There's always a 1%, but in 99%, so in almost all cases, there's only 2 causes of all illness, disease, and chronic pain. Just 2, every single time. And I'll tell you what they are in a second. But the reason there's just 2 is because if you say to me, you give me any illness, pain, ailment, disease, whatever it might be, and say to me, how would I reduce my risk of any of those things? I'd give you a list. And I discovered a few years ago that my list was largely the same for each thing. It didn't matter if it was as minor as heartburn and as big as cancer, or as minor as a little bit stressed out, or as major as extreme depression, or a major mental health deterioration thing later in life like Alzheimer's, whatever else. My list was the same. And I also used to say, if you came to me saying, how do I reverse one of those things if, God forbid, one of those things was coming up for me? There's nuance within each thing, but generally it's the same stuff. So I'm like, hang on. All the ways that I minimize the chance of a thing are the same, and all the ways that I reverse a thing are the same. So what am I really saying? And what I decided I was really saying was almost everything is a symptom. And then I think there's a real danger in diagnoses. And diagnoses really is just to put you in a box, put you with the official doctor, and give you a code for insurance purposes. It just comes out in different, it just comes out in different ways for different people. So one person can have high blood pressure, and another person can have heartburn, another person can have cancer, another person can have heart disease, and so on. Some tend to come earlier than others. So the more minor ones tend to come earlier in a health deterioration, let's say, as like a warning. Your brain and your body is saying, hey, watch out. If you don't handle this, you might have something much, much worse in 20, 30 years' time.
True.
But sometimes it's just a weird luck of the draw. For one person, the symptom comes out as something in one part of the body, sometimes it's something else. It's all the same, which means we should, to some degree, in my opinion, move away from specializing and get to really big picture generalizing. And it's just 2 things. One is your physical health, so lifestyle, and the other one is your emotions. That's Correct. It. And it's either one or both every time. And I break lifestyle into 3 main buckets. One is nutrition, so food, supplements, liquids, etc. 2 is movement, so walking, exercise, muscle, everything that goes with that, posture, breath work, and so on. And then 3 is the kind of biggest bucket because there's so many elements in it. I just call it living more naturally, or unfortunately living less naturally, depending which one it is. So that might be about getting more natural sunlight without sunglasses, without contact lenses, without lotion. It might be minimizing artificial light, especially blue light at night. It might be removing the toxins in your home, being aware of artificial fragrances. The list goes on and on and on. But it basically all forms under living more naturally. So you've got nutrition, you've got movement, and living naturally. Nice. Those are the big 3. And we can biohack all day long and cold plunge and red light and supplement this and do that. And I'm pro lots of these adjuncts. And it's the biggest waste of time if I'm not eating well, moving well, and taking care of the big picture basics.
True.
So that's lifestyle. But as I have also alluded to, the other side of it is emotions. Conscious thought, unconscious thought, spirituality. Let's just call it all emotions. And you can't out-eat or outrun emotional issues. You also can't outthink a crap diet. So that's why it has to be both. But I've witnessed for myself, I had a supposedly incurable, and I'll say horrific, autoimmune disease.
Mm.
And I was told it was genetic. One of my kids had it, and that made sense that it was genetic. And I'll just tell you this for now, because it might need a conversation another time. I cured that incurable disease in a single moment once I realized it was coming from my own brain. It was psychosomatic. It was emotional. And once I got to grips with that, the physical disease, this autoimmune disease, vanished. And many times, pain, chronic pain, disease and illness is actually coming from our emotions. Often as a physical manifestation of emotional pain. So a physical manifestation of emotional pain can result in some of the worst things that a human can experience. And it was never about what they weren't eating or how they were living. It was about what they believed deep down. It was about some programming from 42 years ago because of something somebody said that they took in a certain way. And that's it. And I intentionally want to simplify because it's, of course, there's so much complexity if we allow it to be complex, and health has complexity and nuance. But the big picture is this. If you don't handle those 3 key lifestyle buckets and your emotional health, don't worry about the rest of the details. It's the big picture first.
It's true. It's so true. I mean, everything you just said aligns so beautifully to Ayurvedic medicine. In the ancient sciences, we talked about it's your food, your nutrition. Move your body beautifully. Let's move that lymphatic system and move that energy body. We've got to move it. Moving it in nature's even better. So we align to that circadian clock. Natural living is so much of what I'm teaching right now. Let's live a less toxic lifestyle, but let's also align to nature's rhythms. That is natural living. And then in my new book coming out, I have a whole chapter on something called mental inflammation. Because when I was writing the book, it came to me, I was like, I'm going to teach so much about health. I love teaching it. But if they're going to have these stressors and these underlying huge emotional stressors, chronic stressors, maybe childhood, adverse events, things that happen, traumas, if we don't address that piece, that chronic low-grade persistent inflammation is going to take an effect anyways. Like you'll cause the physical stress through the mental stress.
100%.
And that's where I thought I have to really start speaking into this so people understand you have to pause and address that too. You can't chase that with the biohacking tools and the things you're talking about. You won't win anyway. And so I love that you're simplifying it because we actually really do need to simplify it down to those basics so people don't just chase their tail trying to achieve good health. I see so many people who buy all those toys, but then we're stressed because we're not using the expensive toys.
Yes.
Right? And then what's the point? You bought something expensive just to stress about, and thus you're still causing the disease you are trying to purportedly avoid. And so, yeah, it's such a good reminder. So I love these buckets. And I know when we spoke a couple weeks ago, we spoke about natural living and homes a little bit. Because for me, up until now, 2025 was about mold. Now it's about the most beautiful, clean, healthy air home I've ever could have called in because I have created that now. And I think people underestimate after the year I had, I feel like people underestimate the volume of ways our home could help our health or not help our health.
Yes.
And bringing that awareness forward, I think is very important because many times people are either working from home, we sleep in our own homes, we spend time in our homes, we could be raising our loved ones in our homes, cohabitating with our loved ones. Regardless, healthy home, I've realized after truly ripping the house apart in a couple of spots, I think we underestimate what's being used to build our lives that is so detrimental to us.
Yes.
So can you speak into that a little bit? Because it's my current passion project.
So I build healthy homes and I build building connected communities. So one of the things I find when I'm coaching people, I work with lots of people just to help them because I love this stuff, is we can work on the nutrition and we can work on the exercise and we can get them outside more. We can work on their emotional health and so on. And yet many people still hit a bit of a wall. And that wall is commonly because of one or both of two things. The home they're living in or the buildings they're in, making them sick in some way, or a lack of human connection relationships. And the data is quite interesting. So apparently the average person in the US spends 22 and a half hours out of 24 indoors. 17 hours a day in the home. And we don't know the number for sure, but it's somewhere between 40 and 80% of homes have mold. Mold is really dangerous for humans. You have experienced that. Artificial light, I think, is the single biggest health epidemic that most people don't realize. I think it's I believe it is the biggest thing in terms of unknown illness causer. You know that the biggest group of people that get skin cancer are indoor workers who live away from the equator, that are under artificial light in their offices and in their homes all day long. The lowest incidences of skin cancer are outdoor workers, interestingly. So just throwing that in. Wait, you mean the opposite of what we're told? That would be crazy. So the homes are doing people a lot of harm. We've got crappy water with all sorts of pollutants, opiates and fluoride and all sorts of other stuff in. We've got, even if we're in the home, the air in theory could be lovely fresh air, but most air isn't. So it's all air conditioned, but commonly coming through a conditioner that has issues again with mold and other bacteria and so on.
Correct.
People are just not well in the home, but the artificial light thing is enormous. And then you're in an office the rest of the time and it's the same problem. So if we build a home that is mold free, that allows fresh air to move through it, that has clean filtered water that then we can either through the system itself or manually can remineralize, because salt, electrolytes, minerals are vital for life. You can't live without them. Salt, supposedly bad for you, you're dead without salt. So, makes the point. It's pretty important. So remineralizing that water, changing the lighting to incandescent stuff or clever LEDs that don't flicker and have the right spectrum in there, minimizing the use of the phone at night or changing the screen red every single night. All our TVs glow red at night because we've changed the settings on them because it makes such a difference to your health.
Yeah.
Building houses that address that can really, really help people transform their health. So that's our mission. So we build houses. We're making them healthier and healthier in recent years. We're even going to start bringing in now like 3D concrete printing in some of the homes because, again, it's almost impossible to get mold when you do that. So many elements. We have about 50 different things we do in our houses to make them healthier. But anybody can address basics by opening the windows more often, getting your AC system, your HVAC system cleaned and clear and getting good filters on, by changing the lighting that you use in the house, by filtering your water. These are relatively affordable changes that almost anybody could make. And then the other piece, as I mentioned, is the human connection piece. So you hear lots of data around this. So it's fairly meaningful that loneliness is comparable to smoking a pack of cigarettes every day. And therefore, gaining human connection and a sense of belonging is like giving up smoking. That's one of the huge things. And the blue zones, which has very iffy data because actually, people think the blue zones mean one thing, but you've got vegans and you've got meat eaters, you've got everything. The one biggest thing that connects all the blue zones, the longest lived people in the world, is belonging. They're within a community. And that may be the biggest factor. So another thing we're doing with our homes is starting to build either wellness clubs that people can be a part of and try and connect people, or actually these little mini soulful villages with like-minded people and shared areas to try and build connection again. It's really hard to be healthy without that. I need to reword it. It takes even more work to be healthy without that, because not everybody will have that. And I don't want their unconscious to hear me say it's hard. They're going to have to do other things to make up for that. It requires more work. That's the better way of saying it.
Yeah. No, I love that you shared that because I think we underestimate it. It's easy nowadays not to meet your people and see your people, especially if, in my experience right now, I'm a mom, schedule's busy, I'm working. So my connection is, thank goodness, to my own kids and husband. And I have an amazing business partner. So I get to see her at work and we do our circadian walks before we start our day.
Excellent.
We eat healthy at work. So we have a great work-life balance in that way. But my own friends sometimes text me. They're like, hey, I haven't seen you in a month. When are we going to see each other? I'm like, I don't know. Let's try for dinner. So yeah, I think building back connection is important. And if you don't feel like you have that in this year, find your ways to bring it back.
Yeah. And let's stop replacing it with social media, which is actually the cause of, or one of the causes of the problem, and can temporarily give someone a dopamine hit that makes it feel like they're getting the connection. Actually is now another hour or another night they've not spent with a real human. So it's actually making the problem worse. So for people to kind of wake up to that and decide, I need to be with real people. I need to be with 3, 5, 10 real people rather than 10,000 people who I don't even know.
True. Very true. Yeah. No, thank you for bringing that message forward too.
You're welcome.
We're going to have to do another whole episode on healthy homes since it is a passion topic of mine of 2025 and beyond.
Excellent.
And what I love about it, because when we spoke before, we spoke about how nowadays some people in this biohacking space we're in are putting a lot of money and effort and time into building new homes that have all the cool tech. Many of us own our existing homes, so you can't just I can't start from scratch in this moment and build from the ground up.
Yeah.
But I do believe that when we invest in piece by piece, taking our existing space, whether we own the home or not, and making it healthier, I love it because it's like a one-time purchase and it's a system that's created called cleaner water. Yes, do I have to order the filters every year? Sure. The air filter, same thing, air purification. So because clean air is such a topic of interest to me this year, I would love to get into it more because I love that you're putting this time and energy into building healthier homes, healthier communities. I can just see a future world where that's what we have. And thus, that's not the source of some of these health struggles we have. That piece we've got. Now it's just about in community, moving together and spending time together.
Create that new normal where a home, or why would a home not be healthy? That doesn't make sense, is where we should end up.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I love that.
Thank you.
Well, Daniel, I wish we could talk for hours. Unfortunately, we have to wrap for today, but we are going to do a part 2 to this because there's so much more to lean into here. Will you share where everyone can find you and find more information about you?
Yeah, my health account on Instagram is the main place I hang out. That's the Not Doc, because I'm not a doctor, so the Not Doc, and I wear that as a badge of honor. And our social for our home building is Brownstone Capital Investments, and I'm sure you'll put them in the caption and do all the stuff you do. And I'm really happy just for people to come, comment, DM, whatever, and if I can offer guidance and ideas, I will do. It's really important stuff. And I just try and offer that holistic approach for people.
Awesome. Beautiful. Well, thank you for coming onto the podcast today. I appreciate it. For everyone listening to the Fusionary Health Podcast, to learn more about this podcast, you can visit my website at shivanigupta.com. And thank you guys so much for listening. Please share this episode with someone in your life who needs to hear this message so we can all rise together. Thank you. Thanks for joining me for this episode. Check out our sponsor, Fusionary Formulas, the potent turmeric supplement used by doctors around the U.S. for patients with pain and inflammation. www.fusionaryformulas.com. I'm your host, Dr. Shivani Gupta. For more, visit shivanigupta.com. Subscribe to this podcast in Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Click the follow button or subscribe in any of the apps that you use. That's all I've got for you on the Fusionary Health Podcast this week. You have the power to transform your health and achieve vibrant health starting today.